So I'm going to do something that I really think ought to be prepared for more, but is sort of motivated by Nick's talking about this, but in general by the development of our various conversation narrative storylines and such as we exist as a group and grow as a group and change and stuff like that. I thought it would be nice to go back over the history of this room with a brief preface about before the room. Before this room, there was a state of affairs where and talking with famous people, I'd launched GTM sessions periodically. I'd put up an announcement saying, "I'm in this room. Click this link, and join me, and we'll talk, and I'll record videos, and then I'll upload them." And that's how I used to do it for quite a while. And gradually, it became clear that what would be ideal would be to have a room that's always open, because a lot of times after I was done making videos, people still wanted to hang out and talk. And I'd say, well, sure, I'll make one of you guys organizers or something. But, that was a stopgap solution. So, Tiffany, a participant in some of the GoToMeeting sessions, the tech guy, and indicated that it was doable to create the thing that I envisioned, which was always open room that's always recording the videos out and cutting them into chunks and automatically uploading them. And that's what we have here at Talking to Fan People Raw Room. The Raw channel is the uploaded videos of what happens in here every 15 minutes. So the thing that made it very appealing to me was the idea of having a history that was documented in the lives of everybody in this community, either for little chunks of it or big chunks of it, depending on how much time they spent here. So I just spent a few minutes reviewing the early times of this channel and seeing how the progression has gone so far. Foremost, let me say I was surprised that it was only September 10th that it happened, that we have the first video uploaded to this channel. I don't think that was actually the first day where we did it, because I think we had some problems at the beginning. We had some technical things that caused us to have to kind of start over a couple times. But regardless, those are the first ones that are on record, so that's the official first start date as far as I'm concerned, is September 10th, 2016. That makes this about 4 months old. And those first ones, whom did they feature? The very first one, Tiffany and host Tim. Tiffany and host Tim. So, and Tim, of course, we haven't seen him in a long time due to a bit of a FE catastrophe, I think, from his point of view. It's not really an FE catastrophe at all. That's one of the storylines. Host Tim was around for quite a bit at the beginning of this room, and at one point I told him I wanted to move to sunny Southern California and live with me and be my right hand man for Talking with Famous People, be my co-host type thing, and then we'd work out some sort of financial arrangement involving both room and board and a little bit of money, and we'd figure shit out. He had nothing else better going on, so I figured it was a good deal. Well, that fell through, and I haven't seen host Tim since, and that's unfortunate because he's absolutely welcome, no hard feelings about it, and I think he's unnecessarily perhaps chagrined or embarrassed about what was totally a possibility the whole time, and I have no bad feelings about it. Regardless, that's one of the storylines. Is at the beginning of this room, we were talking for a while, and then host Tim and I went off to private room chat about possibilities and about business possibilities, about what he wanted in life and how to facilitate some sort of apprentice slash it's a work position that doesn't really have a name, where it's both getting paid, learning the ropes, being a general helpful person, and it's an apprentice basically, and then being hopefully sent off to run one's own empire. Now, granted, this isn't much of an empire. It's it's not like it's bringing in shitloads of money or anything. I'm just saying from a metaphysical perspective of having a lot of human endeavor attached to it, it has grown somewhat, and it feels more than it has in the past to me now, because I don't know. I think people are affording me more legitimacy or something primarily, and I'm growing up a little bit, and that's an interesting thing, an interesting phenomenon for me to experience as well. Regardless, so that's the first storyline we've highlighted, and I want to go on to additional storylines. Another big storyline that certainly is in the mix is how did the beginning play out in terms of what people thought it was? In the beginning, I don't think any of us had any idea exactly what it was. I don't think any of us really still do. But I will say that it played out a lot at the beginning with Elsie was in the room a lot, chilling, filling up the emptiness. And Barry would come in a lot. Casual INTP would come in a lot. Tim would come in a lot. Tiffany, JC. And during that time period, there was a habit of some people would run their own video streams in each of the little boxes. So it would be like Barry TV. He'd run some. Yeah, Kit Kats, you were in that period of time as well, right? I'm pretty sure you were. Yeah, you were, okay. Kit Kats is there too, and the INTPs would run their own little video channels. But unfortunately, I got a scold letter from YouTube, and I had to ask them to stop doing that. So that was one of the early narratives, was that Barry sort of became disillusioned because he didn't find it purposeful enough in the absence of that thing he was enjoying doing. I'm of the mindset that he gave up a little quick, that he didn't give it time to grow and be whatever it is. And that's one of the central themes of this video, is that things do change over time and things gain legitimacy and weight over time. And in fact, it's the single most important factor in any developing project, probably, is to afford it the time it needs to do what it needs to do process-wise without your interference before you start twiddling around with shit all the time. So, anyhow, one of the things that happened was, I didn't really have any idea of exactly what it was, and there's a lot of suggestions back and forth to me all along to do things this way or that way or the other way to maximize viewership, interest, involvement, whatever. And not that I resisted any of them. It was just that most of it just didn't happen. I just persisted in the way I always did things because I'm lacking in will or discipline or something. But I probably think it's a good thing because the community's been shaped by a user unfriendly entrance way. It doesn't look like, probably when you first arrive, you're thinking, this isn't someplace I necessarily want to be. But I suspect if you're an intuitive and you give it a little bit of a shot, you realize, oh, this is something different going on here. We'll get more into that as I proceed, but in recapping these storylines, I'll mention that a lot of time at the beginning of the room, there were long empty spaces, and I'd come in by myself and enjoy kind of having just a space to record shit without having to push any buttons or do anything. And I used it a lot for that. And I also sort of felt like I should be in here when I can if it's empty to encourage others to come in as well. And gradually it became populated with people more frequently, more parts of the day, so that there were fewer parts of the day in which there are no images in the videos. And a big day in the development of this was I didn't see Nick's arrival until October 15th, I believe the date was. The first time I saw him. And then that led into the big Nick storyline, where I should mention Lightbulb, since she's coming into the story too. She was another early adopter. I'm sure there are others I'm not doing a great job of mentioning. Certainly Unify, and at some point in this mix, Courtney and Jay came in. I'm not exactly sure when that was. Actually, that was a little bit later. But anyway, I'll get to them later. So, again, Nick came around. Then like one day, a few days later, he brought he and some drunk friend were drunk on here, and we're being kind of like drunk flirty with Lightbulb in a way that, yeah, they were being rowdy. They were being rowdy, and not necessarily in not a very respectful way necessarily towards particularly Lightbulb, I guess. And then at some point during the day, apparently Lightbulb received some messages, and she told me about it, and I was just kind of like, yeah, okay, cool, thanks for letting me know. I'll do. I mean, this isn't really sad duty. They're just like, okay, well, cool, I'll something. And the thing is, then then Nick somehow got things mixed, and I don't know, but he basically came in and said Eric sent that message to Lightbulb, and then came in to save the day because he wanted attention. And he likes to be feel like he's I don't know. He had a bunch of fucking stories to tell about this, which were all about motive and how my psychology driving this decision. There wasn't any evidence of anything. It was just his instincts, his intuition. So he had me backpedaling for a while. He came in strong, and it caught me off guard. And then after I backpedaled for a while and I played, um, I played Don't Let Him Shift Ground for a while because he was playing FE Shift Ground, and I wasn't having it. And eventually I had to get a ref in here, Taylor, to pin his ass down. He wasn't having that. He didn't want to be pinned down and have him face the music on that. At the end of the day, he gave me a fair amount of what I wanted out of him in terms of concessions and stuff, and he was persistent, and he ended up sort of just overcoming my like, God damn, how do I get rid of this guy? And he's still here to this day, and he's very active, and he had an important role in sort of shifting the general feel of the group, in my opinion. Because moving forward, after he and I had our conflict and sort of resolved and things moved forward, I kind of started to like him. I mean, first of all, everybody would shit on him at first for quite a while. Everyone would just shit on him because they thought he was schmarmy and he had bad FE or whatever like that. But he just kept coming around and fixing it. He'd like be like, okay, well, I guess that's a thing I need to work on, and then all of a sudden he'd fix it some. And so then Janelle came around at some point, and he started hitting on her and trying to get her to come to his house, and that was a big dramatic storyline. I liked that one a lot because it seemed to make things more real amongst everybody that, oh yeah, we are real people, and we could, in theory, go see each other if we wanted to. You know, it's like the sort of thing that you realize this isn't a normal internet activity that one might normally have, this community here. It doesn't feel normal to me, and that's why I'm making this video, because increasingly I'm struck by what a dramatic engine of something this has turned out to be, not just for myself apparently, but for other people, at least from what they tell me. So moving forward a little bit more, when I get into November, what do? I go on my big trip. I have a trip planned. I'm going to go travel across the country. I'm going to meet the people that I've been in the room with. And not everybody, obviously, but I set up a list of people, and I went and I visited the following people on this trip. Lorenz Walker and Jason Neff in Colorado. Yaylor and Katie in Kansas, along with famous person Jordan, of course. Don't want to leave her out. And assorted others in that location. And I went down and visited Courtney and Jay in Oklahoma. I went up and visited Trenton in Tennessee and Michelle in Tennessee. And I saw Nick in Ohio and Ken in Ohio. I saw Unify in Detroit. I saw John in St. Louis. And I saw Not Host Mark. And I saw, what's his name? Not Host Mark's friend, fucking Hayden or something like that, in Flagstaff. I think it's Hayden. Sorry, Hayden, if that's your name. And it was a lot of fun, and it was kind of traumatic in some ways. It was dramatic in some ways. It was delightful in some ways, and I'd like to think it brought everybody I visited on that trip and me closer together and helped us to feel more real about things again. And so, moving forward a bit, I think I'll just sort of skip ahead to more recent times in which the storylines around here have begun to evolve into a couple of different main themes of late. One being argumentation style, like whether or not I yell at people too much, basically, and or whether I should change my approach because people aren't learning, they're just getting offended or something. So those kind of arguments. And then another one of them is the status of the relationship of the people in here and what this process is doing to us all. And I should mention Sun too. Sun's a major player around here, but he's kind of like, he slips into the alcove. You live in the alcoves, son. You live in the alcoves. I think that's fair. I think it's a fair criticism. Okay, so yeah, other notables here before I get into I guess the most recent developments and such are well, we've seen Nefertiti around a few times recently, and she's a regular, if intermittent, appearer. I mentioned her because I talked to her this morning. We've seen, I mean, it's a diverse group. Jordan here is a fairly recent arrival, and he's been a regular since he did pick it up and started settling in here, and has contributed all kinds of stuff along with, countless other people. The thing is, what happens? Kit Kat says he just lives here now. Kit Kat is an INFP. She's been here a lot, and she's on camera sometimes. Sometimes she's off camera, and she draws pictures and shows them to us and shit. And she's shitloads of just goodness and light. she brings pure goodness and light to the room. And I think we all appreciate her purity in that regard. There's something purely INFP. Thing. I don't know. You know how INFPs are. Well, anyway, Margie, I failed to mention Margie, which would be a crime, has been here bringing the INFJ heat on the TI front and periodically correcting me and or providing me very useful insights into things that I then repeat many times as though I made them up or heard them myself or something. Usually fail to credit Margie on them. But regardless, regularly comes onto the mic. I have yet to ever see her on camera, actually, so I don't think I have. I don't really pay shitload of attention to that. But it doesn't matter anyway, because she not only comes on the mic, she also has contributed in the past some excellent documents for us to refer to, which are always nice. So, recent developments around here, and I know I'm leaving people out, so please correct me if I do, is that I was very happy last night. Courtney launched a bit of a love fest onto me, which was very nice when I changed my name to Moisture Lover. I think that's maybe why. And so anyway, she's like, basically, thank you, host Eric, and it's really nice. It made me feel really good. And then we went around, and then it ended with Taylor saying that Eric is his best friend too. And I thought, fuck yeah, that's totally score, okay? And then, like, the other thing that was nice is I found out today what's been going on with Clint. I think I might as well throw this in here, too. So, Clint was mad the other day about something, apparently. And somebody told me, is Clint mad? And then I'm just like, I don't know. And I didn't really think about it. But then Clint emailed me today asking if I'd seen Michelle. And I really hadn't seen her around or anything. So I was like, well, what's going on? And finally I messaged her and was able to talk to her briefly, and she was fine and was like, oh, I don't know what's going on. Why Clinton thinks that or whatever. But the point of this story is not that part of it. It's the other part, which is the reason he was mad is because he felt as though we were mistreating Courtney. And not being fair to her and not treating her with adequate respect and such. And here's the thing about that. I know there have been occasions when I feel as though I've been unfair to Courtney. And I've made an announcement about that, like, as well after the fact. Like, I think I was unfair to Courtney. I don't think on the occasion that he was complaining about that he was correct that we were being mean, although it was a little rough and tumble. I also don't think he was correct in his assertions of why we were mean, namely that we didn't hear or respond to her points, which was not the case. Or, I mean, the thing is, there may have been a dogpile thing going on there, which is what I don't like, is when I don't want to be doing that at all. And I want to make sure that, like, I value Courtney highly, and I do kind of sometimes tease her a little bit. And I'm sorry about that. And I don't want to do that because I like her. I like her a lot, and I value her as an important member of the community. So, he was mad at me, and he actually was mad at Taylor, not at me. But I don't think he was thrilled with me either. So I acknowledge that sometimes I do get a little too rough and tumble around here, and sometimes people get yelled at, or sometimes people get like, no, you cannot be that stupid, like that kind of stuff. A little bit sometimes, you're a little overboard. Anyway, that was something of interest to note. And then the other recent storyline that we're going to bring up, probably, I guess it'll be the last storyline maybe, is the wonderful world of Neptune and Spacey, who are my favorite two INTPs at the moment, because Neptune is just hilariously droll plus nihilism. Like that kind of stuff, And then Spacey came in and everybody compared him to Neptune right away. Except they're different. I mean, they have different voices and different delivery styles, and Neptune has a certain lilt or cadence to his voice that Spacey doesn't have, but they run the same shit, They run the same arguments and stuff, and so basically what happened is back to back. Neptune came in, and Neptune and I scrapped a whole bunch because he just didn't like my ways or something, and I guess I didn't like his ways either. And then, but you know what? One night he fucking was trolling the shit out of me and it pissed me off. So I made this really, really great song about him. It's not really about him. It's directed towards him, saying, "Don't be such a little bitch," But the point is, that's the sort of joyous welcome you'll receive here. But like I tell him and everybody else, we're all friends after we're done scrapping, as far as I'm concerned. And if everybody else is cool with that, then great. I've got no problem of holding grudges about ideas that I'm not attached to. We're scrapping over ideas, not over people. It's not that Neptune's wrong. It's that the words he's saying are words he cannot support. That's why we're scrapping over it, or something like that. So I want to stress that I do tend to yell at people sometimes, but I encourage everybody to yell back at me. It's not like Eric gets to yell at people and they don't get to yell back. And I don't yell arbitrarily, hopefully. And sometimes I don't yell at all. And sometimes I cry instead. So you never know what you're going to get. And then lastly, Spacey came in. And Spacey is a little bit more... He wants to do two things concurrently. One, he's going like Spacey. He's saying to himself, he's right. Fucking just fucking bite the bullet. Just give it up. You're fighting him and there's no reason to. And the other part of him is like, yeah, but fuck that guy. And so these two elements of Spacey's personality are constantly battling with each other for the first couple of days of his arrival here. And he and I have had some scraps, and I don't know, I've been, I guess, a little fighty the last couple of days. I don't know why exactly. Not sure. Yeah, but
You were fighting me a little bit, that's all.
I was a little fighty, yeah. A little bit fighty.
Right.
So, those are my thoughts about the narratives coming into this fourth month now. Or the starting of the fifth month of Talking with Famous People Raw Room. What is it? It's a real life drama of sorts that involves people recording substantial portions of their life, which is lived as an intuitive, talking with other intuitives about what we're doing, recording our lives, and about how to metacognate about that to maximize or optimize the self in ways that are meaningful, specifically and ergonomically designed towards the individual human being who is being modified by a process that's driven primarily by objective and objective criticisms. So it's like basically the mechanism of self-improvement is, we're gonna call bullshit on your bullshit, and we're not gonna let you sit there, and we're not gonna play FE dance where everyone's not making any social mistakes and nobody's getting called on bullshit. Instead, it's the opposite. Everyone's making lots of social mistakes and everyone's getting called on all their bullshit, including me for sure. I get called on bullshit all the time. All the fucking time. Eric, you were too harsh, or Eric, you were whatever, and something like that. Can't please everybody. I joked that I had sent an apology to Neptune, and Taylor was like, I am so disappointed in you. Till he realized it was a joke. Right? So, yeah, a bit of a hot mess. Okay, fine, Kit Kats. That means it's supposed to end the video now. I am a bit of a hot mess. And you can get some of that on you by visiting us here with you and all of your friends here at Talking with Famous People, the exciting new television program that helps you grow avocados and grapefruits in your own kitchen. The end.